Hypnotic is a new crime thriller directed by Robert Rodriguez and starring Ben Affleck as a depressed cop who tries to find his daughter, but also is trying to stop a bank robbery. So that is the plot. The plot is really basic here, but what do I get for this film? Well, let's start with the misconception of most of the reviewers. A lot of reviewers are calling this film an action-packed ride, right? But it's not that action-packed. This is more like a crime thriller-driven story, and that is fine, because they also have a little bit of action sprinkled in this film just to try to get your excitement back during this film, because most of the time the characters are only telling you exposition after exposition after exposition again and again and again, and most of the time it's getting really repetitive because this movie has a lot of exposition. The movie is not showing you, but the movie is telling you through characters. One of the examples of this is through Alice Braga's character. She is another hypnotic in this hypnotic world, but her purpose is to just tell Ben Affleck's character how this world works through expositions. And there are a lot of them. That is my biggest issue with this film. But this movie is also trying to get the audience excited through this tiny little bit action moments. And let's talk about them. The action moments here, they have a purpose, and that is trying to build your excitement back. But it doesn't work. Mostly it doesn't work because the action sequences are too sparse and too quick. And the wrong thing here is that you are really begging these action sequences to be over, because these action sequences are too generic, There's nothing special about these little bit action sequences beside their purpose. These action sequences have purpose, but it doesn't work. Well, then let's talk about the performances. Ben Affleck as a stressed cop who tries to find his daughter trying to stop this bank robbery. Well, he works fine, It suits his character and it really helps. His performance really helps you feel sympathetic with this character. Let's talk about the villain about this film is played by William Fichtner. He is a really nice addition to the story because, he's a villain, so he's gonna be there. But his performance is quite good in this film. But the problem with the film here is how they are using it. They are using this character just to be an obstacle that Ben Affleck's and Alice Braga's character trying to get through. That is his only purpose. He's trying to create chaos and everything, but there's nothing overarching. There's no other purpose beside that with his character. And that makes me think, are the writers confused to find something for this character to do besides creating chaos and being an obstacle to the story? Well, that's up to you, because that is what I feel about this character. His performance is surely good, but how they're using it, it's really generic, There's nothing special about this film. What I really do appreciate about this film is the throwback feel. This movie is very similar to a mystery thriller type genre during the early 2000s, and I really like that. I really like that the fact the movie is trying to throw you back into the era, where these kinds of movies were really popular at that time, and it really works with that context. But I really do have another issue with this film. And that is, this movie is very ambitious with its concept. You know, the concept is more like Inception, but with a little bit of twist here and there. But really, the basic concept here is the same, with a different presentation and a different package, with a little bit more action to keep you intrigued. But that's about it. You don't have a lot to find interesting because this movie is only 1 hour and a half long. So you don't have a lot to think about. You don't have a lot to remember about this world besides through expositions. And that brings me to the fourth problem I have with this film, and that is exposition. They really do try to cram a lot of these expositions through a really short runtime. They're not showing you, but they're telling you through these characters. And it really doesn't work. You need to show us something to believe it. You need to show us something to make us intrigued. And what they're trying to show here is the bit of an action sequences, you know, and it really doesn't help. You really have to make us invested during the context, during the really big context that you're trying to present here, and it really doesn't work. But at least the performances helps. You know, Ben Affleck is really suiting the character, you know. He is depressed, he is sad because his daughter got lost, and you really believe, and you really feel sympathetic to his character, and that's good, you know. The villain, even though he's just an obstacle, it's still good. The performances from William Fichtner is good. So the performances is fine, and the purpose of throwing you back to the early 2000s works. But aside from that, this movie is not bad, but also not good. So it's very mediocre, it's very generic. You have seen these movies a couple of times, maybe 10 times by now. But if you really like to get thrown back into the early 2000s, this movie does the job perfectly. And if you like mystery thriller movie, you really like this. And with that in mind, I'm going to give this movie a 5 out of 10. This is a very generic film, but you can still have enjoyment throughout this film. 5 out of 10. See you in the next video, guys. Tell me, if you have seen Hypnotic, what did you think about it? Do you like it? Do you feel bored or anything? Tell me, comment down below, and see you in the next video.